So this video is going to deal with the last learning targets, which are learning targets 21 through 25 in Unit 5, which is going to focus on birds and mammals. We'll start off with birds, and birds are reptile-like animals that are endotherms, where reptiles, remember, were ectotherms. Birds are covered with feathers, and they have two legs covered with scales. Their front limbs have been modified into wings. Feathers are structures that are made of proteins that keeps birds warm and help most birds fly. So birds are endotherms, which means they control their own body temperature from within as a function of homeostasis, and this is a new adaptation that we have not seen up until this point. So bird evolution, it is believed that birds evolved from extinct reptiles. Their similarities exist between birds and reptiles in egg production and excretion. Modern birds have modified scales on their beaks and legs in order to function properly. So we see a lot of similarities between reptiles and birds, especially when it comes to excretion and egg production. Flight. So birds have many specialized adaptations that help them in flight. They have highly efficient internal systems, which we'll talk about, their circulatory system, their respiration system. It's all built in order to help them fly. They have aerodynamic bodies with feathers and wings. They have strong hollow bones and strong chest muscles. This allows them to fly or be a little bit lighter as far as density is concerned to fly. Feeding. So heat is generated by metabolism, and many birds eat constantly in order to maintain their body temperature. Their beaks are specialized to the type of feed that they eat. They have the two specialized structures for digestion, which is the crop and gizzard. The crop moistens the food before digestion, and then the gizzard mechanically breaks food down with small stones, and this is why it's not uncommon to see birds around gravel areas eating small stones. It is used to grind up the food in their gizzard. So respiration, they have a very interesting respiration system that allows them to fly. It helps them in flight. So they have air sacs in the body that collect air from the outside and move it to the lungs when the bird exhales, ensuring fresh air is always in contact with the lungs. So it's almost like a fresh air reservoir. Uh, there's no downtime in between breaths, so to speak. If you think about how we breathe, there is a slight second there where there's not any fresh air in contact with our lungs. Okay, birds have adapted a way for this not to happen, so that way when they're flying, they never have shortness of breath, so to speak. Circulation. They have a four-chambered heart with a double loop system. Remember, we talked about double loop system. If you need to review that, go back to Learn Target 16 through 20 video. Long story short, with the double loop system, starts heart, lungs. We're talking about the path of blood. Sorry, heart, lungs, heart, body, heart. And think about when it gets oxygen, when it drops off oxygen with that. Four-chambered heart, 1, 2, 3, 4, just four different compartments within the heart. Excretion. Ammonia is removed from the blood by kidneys, which is converted to uric acid, and the water is going to be removed, leaving waste as thick and pasty. Birds are going to conserve as much water as possible, which makes their waste very almost putty-like. You understand bird excretions, just like the picture here on a car. So response, they have well-developed sensory organs. Brain is able to respond to several signals at once, and many have extraordinary eyesight and see in fine color. Birds are very smart. Birds are extremely smart creatures. They're creatures of habit, but they also can do a lot of thinking and a lot of reacting to their environment. Movement. So yeah, many birds fly, but there's also birds that don't fly. And the ones that don't fly typically can swim or run very well. So all birds are very good at some type of movement. Reproduction, we see internal fertilization. They lay amniotic eggs, and the parents generally care for their young, which will increase the chance of survival for their young. We see a little bit more parental investment in the offspring here with birds. Now, crocodilians do this as well. We talked about that with reptiles, but reptiles, for the most part, don't really look out for their young kind of on their own, when they're born. We get to birds, we see a shift within the whole species where they're going to protect and feed and try to grow their young until they can survive on their own. Remember, it's all about the genes, passing genes on generations, and other organisms are starting to, we're seeing that they're starting to put some more investment into ensuring that their young is going to be able to survive long enough to carry the genes on to the next generation. So ecology with birds. Birds are very numerous and interact with humans on many levels. Some birds are pests and others are pollinators or insect eaters. Birds can often serve as an indicator of environmental health. Birds are a great way to kind of give us a snapshot of how a healthy an ecosystem is. Birds detect changes in ecosystems a lot faster than other animals and humans. So they're a great indicator of how healthy or unhealthy a community or an ecosystem is. So then we move into mammals, and kind of the last species here that we'll talk about with animals, most complex, so to speak. So mammals are animals with hair and mammary glands, and they are endotherms. So mammary glands are organs that allow female organisms in mammals to feed their young milk. Mammal evolution, they share a common ancestor with ancient reptiles. The first mammals were very small, and when the dinosaurs became extinct, mammals exploited the empty niches and grew in size and complexity. Big thing with mammals that allowed them to survive the mass extinction episode of the dinosaurs is temperature regulation. So hair and subcutaneous fat help to conserve body heat. Sweating is used to cool the body. So with mammals being endotherms, we have ways of combating really hot or really cold temperatures. Feeding. Mammals are able to exploit nearly every food niche. The jaws of mammals and teeth are specialized for their diet. Some mammals, typically your herbivores, which eat more plant-based material, are going to have rumen. This is a separate stomach chamber in order to completely digest the plant cellulose. Plant cellulose is extremely hard to digest. It's very complex in its structure. So some organisms, thinking like cows, have extra stomachs in order to be sure that they can digest that material fully to get all the nutrients that is needed. So if you are a mammal that eats more plant-based diet, then you're going to have flatter grinding teeth. If you're a mammal that eats more of a meat type diet, you're going to have sharper shredding teeth. And if you think about us as humans, we have both. Right? In the front, we have kind of shredding teeth, and in the back, we have grinding teeth. We eat a little bit of both in our diets. Respiration. So mammals have a muscular diaphragm which contracts to pull air into the lungs from the outside and also push it out, push carbon dioxide out. Circulation, we still see a four-chambered heart here in mammals and also the double loop system. So excretion. Kidneys are able to excrete ammonia in the form of urea and control water levels in the blood. Response. Mammals have the most highly developed brains. The cerebral cortex is part of the brain where thinking and other complex behaviors are housed. Movement. Mammals have a flexible backbone. Their shoulder and pelvic girdles are extremely strong and well developed, and their limb and muscle structures are adapted to their specific lifestyle, making them very ideal for movement in their environment. Reproduction. We see internal fertilization. Most mammals have placentas, which allows for internal development of offspring and live birth. There is a very high amount of parental investment in the offspring. Groups of mammals. Okay, we'll start off with monotremes, and these are egg-laying mammals. There are two examples of egg-laying mammals, and these are the platypus and the spiny anteaters. Then you have marsupials, and these give live birth, but the offspring completes development in an external pouch, so it's not internal development. And then you have placentals, which are going to give live birth with internal development. So with placentals, we look at primates. Okay, so primates have binocular vision. They have a well-developed cerebrum. They have long fingers and toes with flexible shoulder joints. Binocular vision means that both eyes are in front, which allows for one image to be interpreted by the brain. Prehensile tail is a tail that is able to grasp like a hand. And the opposable thumb is a thumb that is able to be used for grasping. Very, very, very important digit on the hand of primates. Very briefly, hominid evolution. This is a slow change of body structure that allows for the upright walking and larger brains. Bipedal, which means two-leg movement, is a new development. Hominids did not descend from a single common ancestor, but rather descended from many adaptive radiations. The larger brain came at the expense of lost jaw muscles. Brain gets larger, jaw got smaller. That is the end of Unit 5. Be sure you complete the video form that goes with this. And if you have questions, shoot me an email or message and let me know. Thank you.